Fella comes the other day and asks the following. He says, "Why are you wearing jackets indoors?" This jacket, I guess, this coat. Uh, well, I guess the first answer to that is because it's cold. It's cold in here. And you might say, well, does this have anything to do with Putin shutting down the gas to Germany? No, not really, but it'd be nice to get used to what's coming. I mean, I think we all have to think about that. The fact that the energy, whatever energy is, will be snipped off, and they're going to have to look for new sources. But no, that's not the reason. The reason is that I do not use heating. I haven't used it for many years. I think the heating dries up the air inside the home, and so I try to stay away from that. You would have to put a humidifier to make up for that. Um, I think it's better just to tough it out. That's the way I look at it. So yeah, I don't use heating, and no, it's got nothing to do with money. It's got to do with, again, with not not being healthy. I think that's what it's about. So I had the radiators in my house taken out. Okay, we had a lady, girl, woman. I don't know. I don't want to offend her by calling those her as any of those, because today you don't know. Maybe you got to call her they or them or who knows what. Anyways, this Gulliver, she was arrested in Russia, and this became a little bit of a problem because they wanted to exchange prisoners, right? Fellow that they had in the United States for many years, a Russian, and they wanted to trade it for her. The problem is that there was another fellow waiting in line for a lot longer time than she was. I think Whelan was his name. Nobody was going to remember him, anyways. Um, and somehow they decided to exchange her and not him. And that makes you kind of wonder, I mean, was that the right choice? Some people are questioning that, right? And you can see she's a pretty tall girl because she's a basketball player. And I think the United States was expecting her to, bring the Russian fleet with her, like Gulliver, pulling on the Lilliputians. I guess that never happened. But I think what is going to be happening is that she's probably going to be on the news, interviewed by all sorts of people, and that's one of the reasons I think that she was released. In other words, why the United States chose her and not the other fellow. And it's because she's a bigger prize, political prize, right? Um, I mean, she's just a basketball player. The other guy allegedly, was a spy, and even if he wasn't, he was there for a longer period of time. So you would think he's a higher priority from a humanitarian point of view. And instead, they chose politics. And all these people on all sides, they do politics. That's all they do. These are moves to try to get people to, on their side in the elections. That's essentially it. Anyways, here you can see a little note that was out there. Brittany Griner returned to the United States Friday, nearly 10 months after the basketball star detention in Russia made her what the most high-profile American jailed abroad. Yeah, she was a little higher profile than the other fellow that was, and a couple more that are over there for longer than her. And it says Griner's status as an openly what gay black woman. Uh-huh. Maybe that's got something to do with why they released her, right? Her prominence in women's basketball and her imprisonment in a country where authorities have been hostile to the LGBTQ community heightened concerns for her. And I think that's what it's all about, right? Brought her tremendous attention to the case. Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. Politics. It's got nothing to do with, with the possibility that, they would release someone for humanitarian reasons. It's all politics. Anyways, I did a little research on topic related to extinction, right? And here's one of the things that I found. Over the past, and in fact, it came out in the news, over the past 50 years, male labor force, people like me, participation, the share of men working or actively looking for work has steadily fallen as female participation has climbed. Some scholars have a grim explanation for the trend, okay? And there's one fellow, and he says, a conservative-leaning author of La 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 argues that there has been a swell in men who are, inert, written off, or discounted by society, and perhaps all too often even by themselves. Okay, so men are getting out of work, women are going in. That's one trend. Okay, and there you have the rest of it. You can read it later on, but that's one trend. And here you see the chart. Okay, as a percentage of population, you can see that men for now several years, you would say decades, have been steadily going down as a percentage of the labor force. Okay, so that's one issue that you got to think about. There is a major change, not only in the world affairs, where the United States is compelling essentially Europe to cease its dealings with both Russia and China. And so that's happening. And then within that, we have that the men are losing jobs to women. And I think maybe, just one thing you might want to consider, the fact that in the old days, work was going to war and plowing the fields, and they needed more muscle, and maybe that's why men went out there and did a lot of that work. Today we do a lot of computer work, and that can be done just as well by women. And if they get lower salaries, which they complain about, that would explain why more women also are entering the workforce. Okay, another trend that you might want to keep in mind, and here it is. Study finds sperm count decreasing worldwide. Okay, scientists cannot explain why both the quality and quantity of sperm have been dropping since the 1940s. Indications are pollutants may be responsible. This came out in 1992, and it said collated sperm count reports, etc. 15,000 men. Those are the numbers that they, I guess, looked at, and found declining sperm counts in the USA, Western Europe, and the third world countries. And you can see all the numbers there. They went down, essentially. That's what they're saying. And says that's a problem because men's reproductive organs adversely affected by pollutants. That's what they thought it was, PCBs and DDT, known to imitate some functions of the estrogen hormone. Okay. Anyways, the issue is that the sperm count has been going down. This is more or less known by lots of people out there. It's in the public domain. Other factors, they talk about nutrition, stress, and socioeconomic status, etc. Right? But it does tend to affect fertility. Okay. And here, let me show you the chart. Okay, this is what it looks like more or less for that report, 1930 to 1990. Okay, it more or less shows that, yeah, it's been going down. And then there was another more recent report, and it shows that even since the 1970s to today, it's been going down even further. So it's a confirmed trend, you could say. Sperm count is going down. Will that affect fertility? Yeah, of course. And I say that we are the last humans on Earth, and that is part of the trend. It all points to the same thing, that we're at the end of the line. And I think it's got nothing to do, or very little to do, if anything, with pollutants and food and anything of that nature. It's got to do with genetics. It's got to do, in my opinion, and it's got to do with the fact that we've been inbreeding for over 200,000 years since the start of our species. Okay, talking about extinction, here we have another piece of information. This is Mr. Stoltenberg. He's head of the NATO. And he says, they interviewed him the other day, he says, if things go wrong, they can go horribly wrong. It is a war, talking about Ukraine, that can become a full-fledged war that spreads into a major war between NATO and Russia. And the question is whether it would stop there or whether it would continue into, pressing the red buttons, okay? Kremlin has repeatedly accused NATO allies of effectively becoming a party to the conflict by providing Ukraine with weapons, right, training, etc. And Vladimir Putin suggested Moscow might think about using what he described as the U.S. concept of what? A preemptive strike. Okay? Maybe it's just saber rattling. Maybe it's just, giving ideas to the West to consider. That's what it's called. The opposite side, think about it. We might give you a preemptive strike. Won't even let you, know what hit you. And that would obviously lead to an escalation of the war. And from there, the question is whether we would end up something like this. Okay, here it is. Okay, World War III. How's that? Okay. Now those are great images. Do you think that's ever going to happen? One man alone. That's all there is out there. Finally. Okay. Will this ever happen? Will we have a world war where everybody against everybody and just killing each other and destroying whatever's left on the planet. Okay, so I don't know. It's something to think about. Uh, yes, it might happen. Um, the question is whether we have the wherewithal to stop something like that from happening. Right now, you could say maybe it's just politics, but maybe the powers that be are playing with fire. Okay, here's something a note that someone sent me. It goes like this. Says, how long do civilizations usually last? Says the average age of empires, according to a specialist on the subject, the late Sir John Glubb, is 250 years. After that, empires always die, often slowly, but overwhelmingly from overreaching in the search for power. Okay, and then it says, how old is the United States? Well, it's 245 years. Okay, and so the question is, is this a good analogy or is this a good study? Can we use what happened in history as a blueprint for what's happening now or what we can expect to happen now? And my answer is no. I'm saying we're living in a special age, and that age will not be a repeat of the past. It's not like the United States will be taken over by a Chinese empire or a Russian empire. That will never happen. Let me say it again. That will never happen. It's impossible. And I'll tell you why. Because the United States will never, never allow China to overtake it. Militarily, maybe economically, that's one issue, but not militarily. As soon as that happens, there will be a war. An incident will be created, and there will be confrontation. Okay, the United States will not allow China to even the score with them. Okay, because the United States, I think, will realize, or the politicians in the United States will realize what that entails. Okay, so yeah, we've learned our lesson from the past, and we won't let history repeat itself. That's my point. Okay, here's people who say, Bill, money will never disappear because the theory is that money will have no value at some point. It keeps devaluating. That's one trend. The other one is that, the workers will barely be able to reach the end of the month if it continues like that. And more people will be laid out of work, out of real work. And again, internet is not real work. It's entertainment and ads, commercials. That's not work. Okay, but we think it's work because it's creating, what do you call it, value. Okay, but anyways, here's the example that money can go down to zero. Okay, here it is. Here we have, by the end of 1863, we're talking about the Civil War in the United States, the amount of currency in circulation, and we're talking about the South, was 3 times more than needed by the economy, leading to inflation and sometimes what? Refusal to accept the notes. So yeah, it's possible that money goes down to a point where people will not accept the notes, will not accept any kind of money. You say, hey, I'll give you crypto. I don't want it. It's got no value. It's just a number in a computer. Okay, I'll give you dollars or euros. I don't want it because it has no value. It's just paper. And I'll give you gold. That's just a rock. And so on and so forth. Until you give them something that has intrinsic value, someone will decide not to accept it at some point if we continue to devalue the money out there and devalue especially the work, the labor, that people put into the economy. It's labor that's going to go down to zero. In other words, you're going to get salaries that will barely take you to the end of the month. And that creates secondary problems such as that you don't have enough disposable income to buy, more permanent or long-term items such as cars and houses, and so that market will fall and it'll be a trickle. I don't think we can get away from that. I think we're headed in that direction. Okay, and Paul says, hey, we're not going to be so low as to commit cannibalism kind of thing. When the whole world collapses, we're probably going to help each other and kiss our neighbors. I don't think so. So he says the following. He says, do you really think the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, applies to species of higher stages? Well, I don't know. Maybe he's talking about higher stages like chickens that in a coop, some are higher than others. Do you really think nature wants war and competition in those higher realms of existence? Are you aware that physics is dictated by metaphysical laws that are beyond the tangible? Oh, I didn't know that. That's news. I thought it was the other way around. I thought that it's not dictated by metaphysical laws, and yeah, some things are beyond tangibility, like the rope, and a lot of phenomena out there such as magnetism and gravity. That's true, but not that it's dictated by metaphysical laws. I'm sure you understand that there's a lot more than the eye can see. Absolutely, yeah. There are ropes out there, that connect every atom. We can't see those, and we can't see the magnetic fields. We can't see gravity, the mediator of gravity. So yes, I agree there. And there are universal laws above those phenomena. Well, in science, we don't have laws. Okay, people who talk about laws are religious people. Okay, which can be observed in our dimension. I can eat you if I can kill you. Okay, I'm not sure what he's referring to there as far as observed in our dimension. I have no idea what that means. If the lion has got no sense of ethics, does that mean us humans don't need ethics either? We can be self-conscious. If we're not, we are at the same level of existence. We are animals, but we shouldn't be. Well, these are people who think that they are people, that people are not animals. Okay, so I'm just going to have to educate this poor fellow because, and I hate to break it to him, but yeah, we are animals. And here is the categorization of us humans. Humans, the most abundant and widespread species of primates, right? Characterized by bipedalism, etc., etc. What's a primate? Diverse order of mammals. What's a mammal? A group of vertebrate animals. Sorry to tell you, but yes, we are animals. We belong to the animal kingdom, and some people have, think that because we have a brain, that we have ability to think beyond the other animals in the animal kingdom. We are not animals because of that. That we are different. That we are somehow God put us as not as an animal in Eden, but as the gardener. We're the guys who have to keep the garden running. We plant potatoes, trees, whatever, and we take care of the zoo that God created. No, we are one of the animals, okay? The fact that we have a higher intelligence, we're the king, you can say, of intelligence. Well, that's like saying that the cheetah is not an animal because it's the king of speed, or the elephant is not an animal because he's the king of bigness, of enormity. Someone's got to be the winner in every category. Someone's got to get a gold medal at these Olympics, right? And in our case, we won the gold medal in intelligence, in brain ratio, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we got a gold medal. And does that make us not a competitor? Okay, we're not animals because of that. So yeah, it's religious people who believe that humans are not animals or part of the animal kingdom. We have more similarities with animals than we have differences. In fact, we have no differences whatsoever. We are physiologically animals, and that's all that Mother Nature cares about. That's what Father Universe out there looks at. Father Universe doesn't care, and Mother Nature don't care if we have a very sophisticated thought process going on in our brains.